So in my recent journey of getting involved with Steam, actually buying games on Steam a lot now because I'm making the switch to PC pretty soon here, I have heard time and time again about GOG or Good Old Games, but that's kind of it. I mean, admittedly, I really have not ever known much about the platform at all. I've always thought of it as kind of like a second version of Steam, like a not so popular Steam, but it turns out it's a bit more complicated than that. Yeah, they have not been around as long as Steam, but the service they provide is kind of different. It looks like they actually focus a little bit more on old games, and I probably should have known that given the name of the website. But they actually do focus a lot more specifically on game preservation, which I think is a fantastic and an awesome thing. And they also have a big thing about how if you buy a game, you own it. So they emphasize that you can play it offline. You can do whatever you want with it basically, and Steam games aren't exactly that free. It's a bit more restrictive, I guess. But yeah, overall, I started learning about this whole game preservation thing with GOG, and it turns out the two of the head honchos at GOG were recently interviewed, and they touched base on a lot of different things, one of them being how they actually go about preserving some of these really, really old, decades old, almost long forgotten games. I think this is extremely interesting because not only is this something that is necessary when you are preserving an old game, but the methods they talk about, how they've gone about doing it in the past, are actually really, really cool. In one case, it even involved a private investigator. I feel like it's something from a movie plot. It's really cool. So basically, if you didn't know, when you are preserving games, or basically if you're just trying to platform any kind of game, you obviously need the permission of that game's IP holder. So if I start my own digital platform for games and I want to platform some Mario games, for example, it ain't that simple. I first have to go and get permission from the IP rights holder of those Mario games that I want to put on my platform. And obviously in this case, this would be Nintendo. And obviously in this case, they would respond with a big fat no. But think about games that are decades old that were not really that popular at all. I'm not talking Donkey Kong Country, or even obscure games like Toy Story for the Game Boy Color or something like that. I'm talking really, really out there games that really not many people bought at all, and most people probably never knew existed. There can be some really, really obscure consoles even that people have never heard of, or at least me specifically. I can't answer for everybody else. I'm just looking up old obscure consoles right now. I just clicked into this, and I am just completely blown away at how many there are that I don't know. Besides the Atari 2600. I've heard of Atari, so I'm gonna scratch that. But I'm just gonna name some of these here. I'm genuinely curious, and you can't lie. You need to tell me if anyone has ever actually heard of these consoles. The ColecoVision from 1982. I've never heard of this, never seen it before. It looks scary, it looks haunted, and I don't know why I'm scared of it. The Intellivision from 1980. The Vectrex from 1982. This one comes with the screen. The Amstrad GX4000 from 1990. All right, if you're not mad already and you haven't clicked away, I'm going to do one more that piques my interest. Okay, now we're back to scaring me. I don't know why I feel like terror when I look at this. The Atari Jaguar 1993. I feel like this could be straight out of a creepypasta, going to a guy's garage sale and you get this console. You get a haunted game on it. I don't know. No hate for the console, don't get me wrong. It looks actually really awesome. It's just, I don't know. It's just something about these old consoles. I don't know, but I will say it does look cool. But yeah, long yap session over, you get it. There's a lot of old consoles that a lot of people, at least myself, have not heard of, and with that, there's a lot of games even on those that can really just have been lost in time now, and even some on the SNES and the Game Boy and stuff like that, PlayStation 1, original Xbox. There can be some games where the IP holders, they are long gone, it's decades old, so maybe they are dead, and the IP rights have been passed on to their great-grandchild, and they don't even know they have it. Crazy stuff like that. So, as I said, GOG, they had two big staff members that were interviewed, and they discussed this, and so, I'll just go right into it. They say, it takes more effort than what you would think, and he's referring to preserving IPs. He said it's all about understanding who owns which piece of the game, like the soundtrack or the code, who owns the trademark, There's a lot of intelligence work going on. It is an investigation. Who inherited the rights and which part? And yes, that all sounds extremely complicated. Definitely leads to some tedious work. So one of the other guys, Paczynski, he said that GOG could write a book on some of the journeys it has been on just to pick up the IP for these games. He tells one story about a former Vietnam veteran who made military games in the 1980s before forming a multi-million-dollar oil business in Texas. This guy's name was Oscar, so it says every minute of Oscar's time is probably quite valuable, and we were asking him, hey, do you remember those games that 2,000 people bought? We would like to bring them back, and he was super supportive. He said, I love these games. That's a part of my heritage. Again, just very interesting how you're linking up with somebody who, they made this game decades ago. They've probably long forgotten about it. And the more off the grid they are, if they don't have like a LinkedIn or, something like that, the more difficult it's probably going to be. And this is the one that really stuck out. So it says GOG also hired a private investigator to locate someone in the UK who had inherited the rights to a bunch of games, but that person was living completely off the grid without any cell phone or online presence. He did not even know that he owned the rights because this was just an inheritance package. But it was a similar outcome. He was super supportive of preserving his family's legacy. So yeah, in my very limited knowledge of, well, not only old consoles, but GOG itself as a platform, I have to say their efforts at game preservation is not only very commendable, but also very cool. Again, as I said, it almost sounds like it comes out of a movie. But maybe this just shows, if anything, if we're to learn any lessons here, just how complicated IP rights can be, especially when you get into a game or just an overall project that is decades old.